We still miss Freddie Mercury, one of rock's most exciting frontmen and greatest singers, even 30 years on from his tragically early death. The charismatic Queen legend held audiences in the palm of his hands with his irresistible showmanship and energy. And he summed himself up singing in the band's exuberant hit "Don't Stop Me Now, I'm a shooting star leaping through the sky. Like a tiger defying the laws of gravity." Freddie's 21-year reign with Queen gave the world classic hits such as Bohemian Rhapsody, Killer Queen, and We Are Champions. But his life in the fast lane was not last, and before his death, he chose to slowly let go. Close friend Anita Dobson, and wife of Queen guitarist Brian May, says he was preparing to die 6 months before he passed away at his West London home in November 1991, aged 45. She says he looked very thin and gaunt. "I remember he said, 'When I can't sing anymore, darling, then I will die. I will drop dead.'" In a new documentary about the last chapters of his life, devoted personal assistant Peter Freestone recalls how he and friend Joe Finelli cared for the dying star. He said they were taught to connect a drip to give a drug for Freddie's problem with his eyes. Peter says in his last 2 weeks, the star rejected drugs that were keeping him alive. The only thing he would take would be painkillers. He slowly let go. Joe called me at about 5:30 a.m. and Freddie had basically gone into a coma, and we made Freddie sort of comfortable. You could see Freddie had moved a bit, and then as we were changing his t-shirt we just looked and saw his chest had stopped moving. The star, who died from complications from AIDS, was making great music right up until the end. Peter explains how the AIDS-related death of actor Rock Hudson in 1985 really affected Freddie. He says, "It made Freddie face the fact that instead of us being immortal and it happening to somebody else, it was getting closer and closer to home." A few of Freddie's friends actually died. The closest was from New York, John Murphy. He says Freddie was worried about a mark on his hand getting bigger and darker, yet refused to take a call from a doctor with biopsy results. "We had all the excuses how he was in the bath, he was out, he was somewhere. He just did not want to talk to the doctor. So I have a very good idea he knew this was Kaposi sarcoma, which was one of the first indications of AIDS." Queen had been riding high with sellout shows at Wembley Stadium and Nebworth in 1986. But afterwards Freddie said didn't want to tour again. Freddie had been diagnosed with HIV in 1987. Brian says, "The first time we really knew was when we got together in Montreux. Freddie just sat down and said, 'Okay, you guys probably know what is going on with me. You know what I am dealing with. I don't want to talk about it.'" I don't want to take any action apart from carrying on the way we are. I want to carry on making music for as long as F. King can. We will not dwell on it and we will go on. We all went okay and that was it. There was a discussion about what we would say if we were questioned and we all agreed to deny it to protect Freddie. We felt quite comfortable about that. When we were in the studio and the studio doors were closed, we had fun. For Queen as a family it was fantastic. We were never closer. But then Freddie was suffering. Freddie's sister Kashmira Bulsara recalls him telling her he had an incurable blood disease but denying it was AIDS. I knew it was AIDS but he did not want to talk about it. Although his body was failing him, his voice was still strong. When Freddie would see his own videos he would say I was handsome then, and that is very hurtful as he knew what he was going through. I thought my brother was handsome, still do. These are the days of our lives was the last video and he was in great pain. He could not stand up for long. Mom visited him more times than Dad. I don't think he could take it because he looked like a skeleton towards the end. I remember Dad was reading one of the articles and tears were pouring down onto the newspaper and he said, "This should have been me instead of Freddie." Freddie told the world he had AIDS the day before his death. Queen drummer Roger Taylor says, it was announced before he died but he did not want to be the object of pity or scrutiny and within 24 hours it was gone. It was probably perfect timing. Bloody good move I thought. The documentary also looks at the leading up to the Freddie Mercury tribute concert at Wembley Stadium on April 20, 1992, watched by an estimated 500 million people around the world. Roger says, "The first person I called was Elton as I knew he was a shoo-in. Elton and Freddie were great friends and I knew Elton was particularly supportive in the last days. He rang David Bowie and Annie Lennox who agreed to sing Under Pressure." Brian adds, "When George Michael sang Somebody to Love there were moments where he had that crystal clear razor edge just like Freddie. It was a real chills up your spine moment for all of us." Freddie lived for his music and loved his music and he was proud of himself as a musician above everything else. Freddie Mercury, the final act will be shown on BBC Two later this month and will be available on BBC iPlayer.